What's going on, people? Welcome to 137 Works, and today I've got a super quick video. I just wanted to follow up on the video that I uploaded recently because it's gotten quite a decent bit of attention. With the game only being out for 5 months, with that horrible glitchy buggy crapness that was taking place on the Prague map. Basically, I've come up with a couple of fixes between myself and a couple of comments on in the Reddit thread that I made on the Forza subreddit. There was a guy that gave me some good advice, and then also I've noticed some stuff as well that I want to talk about really quickly. Basically, there are a couple of band-aids. It doesn't take away from the core message of basically turn 10, stop acting the bollocks. This game has been out for 5 months. There's still like an insane amount of input delay when you're looking through cars on basically in the UI and the menus and stuff like that. They fixed a lot of the kind of memory leak issues, but it's still, like, I've got 8 gigs and it hovers right at 5 or at 7.9 when I'm upgrading cars. Like, they could still do some work there. And some other stuff probably that I'm probably not thinking of. But basically, for these specific issues where the game just isn't loading in or the track won't load in, they probably think because that was so widespread when the game first came out and they fixed it in the majority of cases, they're probably like, oh, well, that's good enough then, okay. But like, you could see it in that video, 5 minutes straight. That race ended up being about 15-20 minutes, and it happened throughout the entire race. I just had to guess the track position, basically, for the most part. And again, if this is all brand new to you and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I'll leave a link in the description, basically, and you'll see what I'm talking about there. The fixes, the band-aids that we as a community have had to come up with, because Turn 10 won't fix it. Basically, first of all, this didn't cause it this specific time, obviously, because you can hear that it's just the car engine sounds and the in-game sounds. I'm not doing it, but if you do it, it has an effect. Long story short, YouTube videos. I've noticed that it started off with FIFA. Never ever used to be an issue in any other game, but I started noticing it in FIFA 17, I think it was, when I'm playing FIFA and I have a YouTube video open on my second monitor. Now, I don't know if it only happens on the second monitor or if it happens when it's on the main monitor just playing in the background or whatever like that, but I'll usually pop like a podcast over or something like that onto my second monitor, start up a game of FIFA, go into my career mode and play a few matches. I noticed that like 9 times out of 10, the YouTube video will start skipping, it will buffer, the gameplay will pause and freeze and all that. Like, it seems to be like maybe a CPU thing. I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't understand how much CPU power goes into playing a YouTube video, but apparently it must be quite a bit, because that's basically what happens. They both skip and freeze and stutter, and it's just a mess. Like, and that's this. And I've noticed the same thing in Forza. Basically, when this was happening, I think I was on, what track was I on earlier on? It was a weird one where it doesn't usually happen. Long Beach, maybe Long Beach. Either way, irrelevant. I was on a track earlier on where it was happening. And I noticed the YouTube video just out of the corner of my eye was kind of skipping along, whatever. As soon as I paused the YouTube video, minimized the screen, everything in the game loaded up. It was like instantaneously, like everything just popped back in, and it was fine. Like, it was bizarre. Like, it was the weirdest thing. And then I've tested it again since. After noticing that, I've tested it again since. And sure enough, I was watching the newest episode of the H3 podcast. Had it on the second monitor. Was doing a race on Dubai. Same thing. Stutter, lag, freezing, the delay before pressing the start menu. As soon as I closed the video, even just minimizing it helped, which was weird. Yeah, I don't know if like that's a graphics driver, like an NVIDIA GeForce Experience thing, or an NVIDIA graphics driver thing. I'm not sure, but that's definitely something I've noticed that that's one of the causes for it. And again, in this case, in the video that I made, it's not the cause, obviously, because you can hear it. As I said, it's just the engine sounds. I'm not playing anything in the background, but that's the next problem. That's the next fix. That's the next band-aid, basically. I was testing stuff in the game back when the game first came out a couple of months ago. I was messing around with graphic settings like I tend to do, and just trying to see what worked and what didn't work. And for whatever reason, I just left it on dynamic at one point, and I noticed the frame rate was fine. It was smooth. Everything was working. So I probably played for a couple of days or everything on dynamic, and then I fell out of the game. I stopped playing the game for about a month or two. Over like kind of January and towards the end of Christmas and stuff like that. I uninstalled it and made up space on my SSD for Battlefield, and basically, yeah, and then that's where it got left off basically, and it was on dynamic render settings because I specified that. Again, somebody I think was on the Reddit thread said, please turn off dynamic render settings, it's awful. And I just didn't know any different. I don't know if it was an update that changed it or whatever. I just noticed the last time that I used it that it was giving me fine frame rates, and then when I reinstalled it and I've been playing it again recently, I noticed that it was giving me decent frame rates, so I didn't think anything of it. Apparently that's a bad thing. So sure enough, I followed his advice. I set up a game on Prague, 10 minutes, 23 cars, so full like load on the CPU, loading in the AI cars and stuff like that. But I changed the graphic settings, And it's not important. I was thinking about doing this live inside Forza with the menu and everything like that, but to show you what I set them as, but it doesn't matter. It's just, it's going to be different depending on your graphics card and your CPU and stuff like that, and the amount of RAM that you have. So I just changed them to some settings, kind of like I wanted car detail high, car textures like skin, livery textures high, road detail medium, because that's not terribly important because you're driving super fast, world detail fairly high or whatever. So kind of way, just going through making specific settings for each one, not leaving anything on dynamic. Sure enough, I then played, the 10 minutes, just doing laps, 10 minutes on this exact same the short Prague setup, layout, track, variation, whatever you want to call it. And sure enough, nothing. There is the constant, never going away, apparently, screen flickering, where just like a bar will come across the screen for a split second, or like a piece of the world will just not load in for a split second or something like that. That's very annoying, and that doesn't seem to be anything related to any of the other things. That just seems to be its own little kind of entity happening there, like just full stop. And then like just a couple of just general micro stutters, which just happens with the game. Again, not acceptable. Fixed the game, turn 10. Yeah, they were the main things that I noticed had the biggest effect on it. As soon as I changed those settings, it was absolutely flawless. But that's about it. They're two quick fixes that if you haven't tried yet, or if you've noticed that this game has been you've been having poor performance, just check it out. Have you been watching a podcast, either on a second screen, which is probably the main cause, or possibly on the if you've only got one monitor, have you had it on the, did you have the window, basically the tab open behind the game in the background? Because they seem to be the biggest things that affected. Or do you have your game on dynamic render settings? That's gonna be the two biggest things that I can offer advice on, because Google doesn't help at all. Like, I've tried Google and I've looked into Google, like people, I've tried basically to get Google results, and there's actually, Forza is one of the least helpful games, if that makes sense. Like, you get the least amount of help from Google for Forza specifically than any other game. Like any other game, if you've got a problem, somebody's probably had that exact same problem and there's been a solution found to it. With Forza, it's just, you might find one or two other people that are complaining about your specific problem, no fix, no resolution to it at all. So yeah, hopefully this will be that fix for you. I'm just going to finish off by saying I apologise if I'm very quiet. I noticed that my Audacity was actually set to like 50%, half of what it usually is, so I do apologise about that. But if you enjoyed it and if you found it useful, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.